Hi guys, welcome to ANIMEized. This is the English translated version of the novel Throne of Seal. The novel differs slightly from the Chinese animation or donghua. If you want more of these videos, please smash the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Enjoy and have a blessed day.
This feeling is truly wonderful, especially for Long HaoChen and Han Yu with the light attribute. Long HaoChen is relatively better, as his spiritual power is at a similar level, bathing in it, only emitting a faint layer of light mist that harmonizes with it. Han Yu's experience is even more profound, feeling as if the spiritual power within him is boiling, followed by a refreshing sensation of being thoroughly cleansed throughout his body. He is refraining himself from exclaiming. The pleasure that he is experiencing, the cave has come to an end, and what emits such rich light elements is a presence that Long HaoChen and his team could never have imagined. The cave has reached its end. Suddenly expanding in size, the dazzling golden light's owner is actually an incredibly massive snail. The shell of this snail has a diameter exceeding 5 meters, and the spiritual golden light emanates from this shell. The exposed body outside is crystal clear like crystal, while the body is filled with faint golden spots. 2 long and soft antennae sway slightly, and a pair of pitch-black large eyes, staring blankly at Long HaoChen and his team, especially fixed on Long HaoChen. Its shell is truly beautiful, almost a perfect circle, concentric patterns gathering towards the center, with horizontal patterns on the spirals, neat and splendid. It seems like countless reflecting surfaces are reflecting the soft, golden light. In the central position, there's a slight protrusion forming a point. Even though it's just a snail, Long HaoChen and his companions can affirm, this is one of the most beautiful magical beasts they've ever seen in their lives. Its beauty, in Long HaoChen's heart, even surpasses that of the radiant unicorn, as if it is a part of light itself. So beautiful, what kind of magical beast is this? Chen Yin'er's murmuring voice softly rises. She voices the thoughts of everyone. Whether it's Long HaoChen or his companions, none of them sense any threatening presence from this magical beast. However, the giant snail doesn't share the same view. Seemingly startled by Chen Yin'er's surprise, its exposed body swiftly retreats into its shell. The snail's body retracts, leaving only the magnificent shell in front of everyone. Long HaoChen raises both hands, preventing his companions from approaching the snail. The treasure of the Forest Serpent King turns out to be a snail, which is truly bizarre. Moreover, the Forest Serpent King is not of the light attribute. In a sense, it is a more pure life attribute, mixed with some other miscellaneous attributes. And even living in this swamp, it has been contaminated with toxins. But the snail in front of them is of pure light attribute. Judging by its current nervous appearance, it's apparent that it is not friends with the Forest Serpent King, let alone being a couple. So, there's only one answer. It is an enemy of the Forest Serpent King, or the treasure coveted by the Forest Serpent King. However, this snail has been living well. The snake demon god Andumali has been trying to deal with the Forest Serpent King for at least a few months, indicating that the Forest Serpent King has been trying to deal with this giant snail for at least a few months, a being that can render a 9th rank magical beast powerless for months. Its danger is self-evident. Therefore, even if this snail shares the light attribute with Long HaoChen, he cannot allow his companions to approach it recklessly. Holy Guard number 11, do you recognize this magical beast? Long HaoChen turns his head to look at the eye skeleton. Holy Guard number 11 comes to Long HaoChen's side, the ice blue flames flickering in its eye sockets revealing a hint of confusion, as if it has thought of something, yet hesitant to confirm. It's okay, even if it's just your guess. Long HaoChen encourages. In the dark swamp, this realm of death, they successively encountered the forest serpent that had long disappeared from the outside world and the ancient magical beast, Sawfish. This giant snail is very likely also an ancient magical beast. But as for its information, everyone has none at all, naturally daring not to approach it easily. Holy Guard number 11 gently shook its head and said in a deep voice, "It must be an ancient magical beast, and it carries the bloodline aura belonging to ancient magical beasts. It should belong to a kind of starlight divine beast, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. Perhaps the 9th Holy Guard will know something." Hearing the respectful tone when he mentioned the 9th Holy Guard, Long HaoChen's heart stirred, and he said, "Number 11, since you are all Holy Guards, why do the 3 of you show so much respect to the 9th Holy Guard? It seems like there's an unequal status among you." Holy Guard number 11 was stunned for a moment, but still answered Long HaoChen's question. Different status. Originally, our master had only 9 Holy Guards, who have followed the master for a long time, and all of them were once powerful beings defeated by the master. I and numbers 10 and 12, on the other hand, are servants taken by the master only in recent millennia. Compared to the 9 Holy Guards, we are far behind, both in strength and knowledge. Long HaoChen suddenly realized, thinking to himself, so that's how it is. No wonder, even though they are all at the 7th rank, the 9th Holy Guard is obviously much stronger than the other 3 Holy Guards. At the same time, Long HaoChen became even more expectant of the wonders within the Tower of Eternity. With the help of the 4 Holy Guards, the overall strength of their team has nearly doubled, And if they can get all 12 holy guards to join them in the near future, what kind of scene will that be? By then, his own cultivation level will undoubtedly reach the 9th rank. If all the holy guards also reach the 9th rank, even facing ordinary demon gods, there should be no problem at all. However, Long HaoChen suddenly recalled what Hiechrary had said to him, that he must not ascend to the last floor of the Tower of Eternity. Otherwise, he might fall into the resentment of dormant Catastrophe Illisec. Go and bring number 9 over, and see if he recognizes this magical beast. Obviously, now is not the time to investigate the Tower of Eternity's situation, so Long HaoChen immediately instructed number 11 to go and summon number 9. Let's see if this knowledgeable holy guard can identify what kind of magical beast this snail is. The cave is not very deep, and in a short while, number 9 arrived at Long HaoChen's side with somewhat heavy footsteps. When it saw the existence of the giant snail, its body stiffened momentarily, even the soul of a powerful being flickering in its eye sockets seemed to freeze. Long HaoChen didn't disturb him. Apart from strength, the biggest difference with the other 3 holy guards lies in his emotions and intelligence. The other 3 holy guards mostly possess combat instincts and some memories. However, holy guard number 9 has a soul truly his own. For example, when he sees caier now, the aura he exudes is even more respectful than when he sees Long HaoChen. After a long time, holy guard number 9's emotions gradually returned to normal, and he murmured, This is among the starlight divine beasts, a representative of peace, the sun and moon divine snail. Upon hearing that he recognizes this magical beast, Long HaoChen's spirits lifted. Sun and moon divine snail, what kind of magical beast is it? Holy guard number 9 said. Even in ancient times, its rarity surpassed even that of the dragon clan. Speaking of the sun and moon divine snail, we have to start with the starlight divine beasts. Starlight divine beasts were extremely powerful divine beasts that existed in ancient times, all of them possessing the attribute of light. Among all kinds of magical beasts, there was a possibility for starlight divine beasts to be born. Each starlight divine beast was existent of the 10th rank. They were referred to as representatives of light. However, the value of starlight divine beasts themselves was extremely precious, to the extent that whenever a starlight divine beast appeared, it would immediately be subjected to a collective siege by other races. It was like how humans would react to encountering divine artifacts. Regardless of the race, all races would covet them. Therefore, starlight divine beasts cannot reproduce, and their numbers have become increasingly scarce, until they became extinct. There are no more appearances of starlight divine beasts. So, what benefits can starlight divine beasts bring? Long HaoChen asked curiously. Holy guard number 9 spoke solemnly. Let me give you a simple example, and you'll understand. When our master built the Tower of Eternity, in its core 3 starlight divine beast cores were used. Until today, the Tower of Eternity still shines. It's precisely because of the existence of these 3 cores that the Tower of Eternity became a true great artifact. Great artifact? Long HaoChen heard a new term again. Holy guard number 9 explained, a great artifact, like the pillar we destroyed earlier, except that the pillar seemed to be below the level of a great artifact, but it already had the rudiments. It seems that the pillar is a component of something even more terrifying than a great artifact. The existence of something like a super artifact. We have never seen it before. At least not in our master's knowledge and memory. It doesn't exist. In our world, there are only some scattered information about super artifacts, but there is no record of super artifacts in any scriptures. Lin Xin couldn't help but ask, then how can you be sure that the demon god pillar is a part of a super artifact? Holy guard number 9 said, it's the aura. Although its power cannot yet compare to ordinary artifacts, when it was damaged, it emitted an aura far surpassing that of a great artifact. This terrifying aura is even more powerful than the Tower of Eternity, more than 10 times stronger. With such an existence, there is no other explanation except for a super artifact. I can't find any other explanation. Long HaoChen nodded slightly. But his heart was in turmoil. Artifacts, great artifacts, super artifacts, he had never heard of this artifact system before. But without a doubt, these things do exist. The Tower of Eternity is indeed a great artifact, and he has witnessed many of its mysteries. The 72 demon god pillars of the demon race are more likely to be components of a super artifact. No wonder, for 6,000 years, humans have been unable to destroy them. However, if that's the case, then why is how you different? For a moment, Long HaoChen's mind was in chaos, as if he had grasped a clue, but there was no evidence to prove his thoughts. Moreover, his thoughts were incomplete, with many flaws. Holy guard number 9 continued, for a period, starlight divine beasts were considered equal to artifacts. Among the ancient artifacts, more than 90% were related to starlight divine beasts. The majority of starlight divine beasts possess formidable combat abilities, and killing them, gaining benefits from them, required a tremendous cost. Among the many starlight divine beasts, the most challenging to deal with was a unique existence. Unlike other starlight divine beasts, it didn't have strong offensive capabilities. However, it wouldn't harm any enemies either. When encountering enemy attacks, it would usually choose to defend. It would wait until the enemies were exhausted, then silently depart. This kind of starlight divine beast is the sun and moon divine snail before us. A creature that doesn't attack, yet possesses nearly invincible defense. It's because it doesn't attack itself, that among starlight divine beasts, it is known as the representative of peace. Hanyu couldn't help but ask, doesn't attack? Can't it be captured, and then slowly find a way to undo its defenses? There must be some flaw. Holy Guard number 9 shook his head and said, the defense of the sun and moon divine snail is known as the eternal barrier. It can not only block most attacks, but also resist all negative attributes. In the history of ancient times, the sun and moon divine snail appeared 3 times, but was only killed once. That time, it encountered a great artifact focused on attacks, and at the beginning of the battle, it failed to enter its defensive state in time, so it was ambushed. That's why that sun and moon divine snail died. After consuming the meat of that sun and moon divine snail, at that time, that powerful being ruled for nearly 1,000 years in ancient times. It was a dragon. After consuming the sun and moon divine snail, it evolved into a holy giant dragon. But do you know how it eventually came to an end? Among the starlight divine beasts, the sun and moon divine snail seems to have a special status. Just after the holy giant dragon ruled the continent for nearly 1,000 years, another sun and moon divine snail appeared, and at the same time, there was also a human similar to you, our master. It wielded the sun and moon divine snail as a shield, and ultimately it killed the holy giant dragon. From that generation onward, humans finally emerged, starting the process of unifying the entire continent. Humans like me? Light flashed in Long HaoChen's eyes. Are you saying God's favored one? Holy Guard number 9 shook his head gently. In ancient times, there was no term God's favored one. Humans were considered a kind of magical creature, but later, after humans ruled the world, they proclaimed themselves as a higher existence. So, if you were in ancient times, you would be considered a member of the starlight divine beasts. Not only Long HaoChen, but also everyone in the martial level number 64 demon hunting squad couldn't help exclaiming. The starlight divine beast mentioned by Holy Guard number 9 is actually the god's favored one of the goddess of light. Who could have expected that? No wonder Long HaoChen felt the aura inside this cave so familiar before. Moreover, after coming here, they all felt that the aura emanating from the sun and moon divine snail was very similar to Long HaoChen's, and the purity of spiritual power was also similar. It turns out that, in a sense, they are actually the same kind of existence, just belonging to different races. Lin Sin weakly said. What if I eat a piece of the big guy's flesh, will I evolve too? Holy Guard number 9's gaze instantly turned cold. Those who harm our master shall perish. Lin Sin quickly smiled and said, I was just asking, just making a comparison. Holy Guard number 9 shook his head and said, unless the entire body of our master is consumed, can one inherit the bloodline of the starlight divine beasts? Caier suddenly said. Let's call it the bloodline of God's favored one, rather than the bloodline of divine beasts. It sounds better. Holy Guard number 9, who had been indifferent to others, showed a hint of fear in his aura, and nodded slightly. Long HaoChen had already organized his thoughts. So, summarizing what you just said, there was once a giant dragon with a great artifact, hunted and ate a sun and moon divine snail, thus becoming the holy giant dragon that ruled the continent for 1,000 years. Later, it was killed by God's favored one, similar to me, wielding the sun and moon divine snail. This laid the foundation for humans to unify the continent. What about the third appearance of the sun and moon divine snail? Holy Guard number 9 replied. When the sun and moon divine snail appeared for the third time, the continent had already become a world ruled by humans, and when it was discovered, it was besieged. However, no one could break its defense, and it eventually escaped, disappearing without a trace. Today's sun and moon divine snail is likely the same one from back then. Since then, there has been no news of such a peaceful divine beast appearing. Wang Yuanyuan muttered. It sounds like the first 2 appearances of the sun and moon divine snail were signals of a change in ruling power on the continent, with the continent transitioning to new rulers. Only the third time was an exception. So, when the sun and moon divine snail appeared this time, was it coincidentally when we destroyed the first demon god pillar? Does it mean that the alliance will end the demon race? Although Wang Yuanyuan just speculated, upon hearing her words, the group felt a sense of excitement. At least, it was a good sign. Holy Guard number 9 seemed to affirm her conclusion. When the sun and moon divine snail appeared for the third time, was the time during the battle between humans and our master. A moment of silence fell in the cave. Long HaoChen suddenly looked intently at Holy Guard number 9. Are you saying the Necromancer Saint who founded the Tower of Eternity and the dormant Catastrophe was one of the leaders in the catastrophic war between the Necromancers and humans? The flames of the powerful soul in Holy Guard number 9's eyes suddenly intensified and became scorching, and he said in a deep voice. There was no one else. These simple words, yet they brought a sensation of tingling to everyone's scalp. No one else, no one else. Illisek, Wasn't he the mastermind behind the catastrophe that befell humans, the leader of all necromancers, and even the ruler of necromancers? No wonder the Tower of Eternity is so powerful. It turns out it's because of this. Long HaoChen's lips were tightly pressed, and the muscles on his cheeks showed, indicating his unsettled emotions at this moment. Everyone could understand his emotions at this moment. Being a knight, he led his companions to receive benefits from a sinner, one who once brought disaster to humanity, and who almost caused the downfall of humanity, the Necromancer. Moreover, it was because of that catastrophe that humanity suffered a severe blow, plunging into a dark age that lasted for 6,000 years. How could Long HaoChen's heart be at ease? This silence lasted for a good while. Long HaoChen gazed at his companions, and slowly spoke. What has happened cannot be changed, but what has not happened should not continue. I have decided, in the future, I will not step onto the 3rd floor of the Tower of Eternity anymore. I apologize to all of you. As he spoke, he suddenly bowed deeply, showing a profound apology. This apology carried a dual meaning. One was his self-blame for leading his companions to bear the favor of such a necromancer. The other was his decision to no longer lead his companions in further training within the Tower of Eternity. The other 6 members of the demon hunting squad almost instantly dispersed, none accepting Long HaoChen's apology. Hanyu quickly supported Long HaoChen. Leader, don't blame yourself like this. It's not your fault. None of us knew beforehand, and besides, everything you've done has been for the sake of the team. You're not at fault. Your decision we will wholeheartedly support. Moreover, we haven't done anything for necromancers. We've only received some favors, and we've already destroyed a demon god pillar for the Alliance. Our actions are worthy of pride. We've justified ourselves to our ancestors and fellow countrymen. Hanyu's words were decisive, tightly gripping Long HaoChen's arm. If Long HaoChen is guilty as a sinner to humanity, then is there anyone in this world who can stand tall as a human? Taking a deep breath, he looked at his earnest companions, and his expression gradually softened. Letting out a light sigh, he said, Let's go. Master, what about the Sun and Moon Divine Snail? Holy Guard number 9 asked anxiously. In whichever era on the continent, the Sun and Moon Divine Snail is a treasure. But seeing Long HaoChen's expression, it seems he wants to give up on it. Long HaoChen said calmly. The Forest Serpent King is dead. It has no more enemies. Perhaps living in this realm of death is the safest for it. As you said, we are both starlight magical beasts. Should I harm it? I just hope it will bless humanity in defeating the demons, and let the continent regain its illumination by the light. Regarding the Tower of Eternity, it was a heavy blow for him, especially after learning about the origin of the Sun and Moon Divine Snail. He had no desire for it. Bearing the sin in his heart, Long HaoChen questioned himself whether he had the ability to protect the Sun and Moon Divine Snail. Although his cultivation level was high, compared to true powerhouses, he was still far behind. As for killing the Sun and Moon Divine Snail for its meat, he hadn't even considered it. Not to mention that Long HaoChen wouldn't harm a magical beast that hadn't threatened him. Even if others wanted to harm it, it wouldn't be possible. Undoubtedly, after the Forest Serpent King discovered the Sun and Moon Divine Snail here, it had spent a lot of effort, but it couldn't achieve the desired result. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the Forest Serpent King, but a Dragon King. Watching Long HaoChen walk out, his companions followed without hesitation. At this moment, Long HaoChen's heart is somewhat fragile. It is precisely at this moment that he needs the support of his companions. Even Lin Xin, who is the most money-conscious, didn't spare a glance at the Sun and Moon Divine Snail at this moment. Holy Guard number 9 was the last to leave. He turned back, glanced at the enormous Sun and Moon Divine Snail, then looked at Long HaoChen. The flickering flame of the soul in his eyes suddenly showed some agitation. Yes, when a being like the Sun and Moon Divine Snail is in front of you, how can one not be moved? How can one casually give up? Even his former master, dormant Catastrophe Illisec, probably couldn't do it. Remembering various things about Illisec, Holy Guard number 9's body suddenly trembled. As if thinking of something dreadful, he lowered his head in sorrow, then followed behind, walking towards the entrance of the cave. Actually, in this world, there is no absolute right, nor absolute wrong. Just like the catastrophe caused by the Necromancer in the past, it's a pity, indeed, it's a pity. The rising saint ruler of humanity eventually fell into an enemy of humanity, leading to its downfall. How can one not lament over this process? Suddenly, a clear yet deep voice echoed in the vine-covered cave. Almost instinctively, Long HaoChen turned around and unsheathed his twin swords. The body of the Sun and Moon Divine Snail emerged again from its hard shell at some point, with a pair of pitch-black eyes staring directly at him. The gaze was gentle, and the two soft antennae on its head slightly converged in the middle. Long HaoChen exclaimed in surprise. Is it you talking? The Sun and Moon Divine Snail, in a very human-like manner, nodded at Long HaoChen. Yes, it's me. Long HaoChen turned back around, and his companions instinctively protected him. The Sun and Moon Divine Snail spoke. What is going on? Long HaoChen stared intently at the eyes of the Sun and Moon Divine Snail. I don't understand what you mean. The Sun and Moon Divine Snail calmly said. Innate endowments can never be a permanent existence. Everything that happens afterward will inevitably affect the innate, just like the chosen son of light, who will be influenced by everything in the outside world. Even with the purest heart, there is still a possibility of being tainted. The God of light is the guardian of the world's order, and we, the sun and moon divine snail tribe, are born to maintain order and peace. Unfortunately, up to now, we have never truly succeeded. Speaking of this, the sun and moon divine snail's emotions clearly turned melancholic, and Long HaoChen listened quietly to its confession. For some reason, he instinctively had a feeling, as if the words of the sun and moon divine snail were very important to him. Our mission as the sun and moon divine snail is noble, but our destiny is tragic. When the first generation of the sun and moon divine snail was born, at the same time, there was also a son of light, another starlight magical beast of that time, what you humans call a god's favored one. It was a luminous dragon. What the little skeleton said just now is quite one-sided, but the reality is even more heartbreaking. The great god of light chose the dragon race, because of the inherent strength of the dragon race. They have the ability to protect themselves, and the constitution of the god's favored one makes them unparalleled strong. However, the gods overlook the greed of the dragon race. The dragons may not be inherently cruel, but their nature has a strong desire for beautiful things. As a result, my ancestors became the first tragedy. After that luminous dragon gained its trust, it betrayed and turned it into food. The luminous dragon then awakened, becoming a powerful sacred dragon. Thus, it ruled the world for thousands of years. Unfortunately, it had flaws in its heart. Furthermore, its rule gradually came to an end due to greed. The god of light felt deeply saddened by its actions. The continent continued to thrive and reproduce, and humanity gradually began to stand out. Perhaps, the darkness within the human heart may even surpass that of other races, but humans possess creativity that other races lack. Thus, the gods ultimately chose humans, selecting them as the spokespersons of the gods. This led to the birth of the second son of light and our order guardians. The ancestors of this generation were fortunate, at least in the early days. They were fortunate. They cooperated with the son of light, practiced diligently, and when they became outstanding figures of their time, they led the human army to finally attack the lair of the sacred dragon, relying on their understanding of the sacred dragon's inner thoughts. They ultimately killed it, becoming dragon slayers, and leading humanity to unify the continent, ushering in an era of glory for the continent. Isn't this perfect? Long HaoChen couldn't help interjecting. However, the tone of the sun and moon divine snail suddenly became angry. Perfect? The only perfect one is that human. In the early days, indeed, he was perfect. But, as he reached old age, and his life was nearing its end, do you know what he did?